This summer, Portland Spirit is offering daily opportunities to experience our beautiful city on a boat, which if you haven't done, you gotta do. There are sunset dinner cruises every day at 7 p.m., daily lunch rides, and Sunday brunch with bottomless mimosas and no lines. You can also kick back on a happy hour cruise, which we've done as a team and it was a total delight, or crank up the excitement with a jet boat ride to the Columbia River Gorge. For all details and to book your adventure, head over to portlandspirit.com. That's portlandspirit.com. Now that the weather is amazing, you can go explore our bridges and the bike-friendly paths of Portland's 5 inner districts on Biketown e-bikes or scooters. One great ride is the Steel Bridge to the Hawthorne Bridge, a scenic 3-mile loop that has you riding right along the waterfront on a cool floating path. You can check the Lyft app to find a bike near you, and new riders can use code CityCast25 for a free unlock. The process is easy, just pick out a bike and use the Lyft app to scan its QR code, but please wear a helmet. Keith Wilson is about 5 months in as our new mayor of Portland, and it's been a busy start. He's led the city through the transition to its new form of government, accounted for a $93 million shortfall in his proposed city budget that will soon be finalized by city council, and successfully pushed for a big increase in spending on his signature issue of ending unsheltered homelessness in Portland. I gotta tell you, aside from choosing the Olive Garden as a location for a meeting with some of our city councilors pretty early on, he's somehow accomplished all of this while avoiding scathing headlines from the media or ire from the public. So today on CityCast Portland, we're checking in with Mayor Wilson to see how things are going and if he's still seeing smooth sailing ahead. It's Monday, June 9th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. You've been in office for about 5 months now, after years as a CEO. How's it going? I'm imagining much easier, right?
The campaign and running a company last year was a very difficult year. Fortunately, having one job right now, it's going well. I have been, and I've told people that I've been pleasantly surprised. The transition from running a private enterprise as a CEO and moving into the city has been easier as far as understanding the parts and pieces well. The challenge is the number of people and relationships you have to have now. In a private enterprise, you're working on return on investments and you're working on spreadsheets, and you have control over the inputs and the outputs. And then when your community or your senior leaders say, yes, this looks really promising, you go. Now I have to do all those things as a mayor, but then I have to go through 12 other people and ask for their approval now. So it's a little bit more delayed. It's still very relational. It's still very transactional, but the council is doing great. They're in it to win it with me. So it's going well.
Yeah, speaking of the council, they're currently putting in tweaks and additions on your first budget proposal. One of the most public debates between yourself and the council was your inclusion of an extra $1.9 million in funding for the Portland Police Bureau, and they voted 7-5 to redirect that money to Parks and Rec, a move you publicly opposed. Their reasoning was that Parks and Rec was coming out of the budget cycle severely underfunded and that PPB was already fully funded. Now, what was your intention in giving the Portland Police nearly $2 million extra? Like, what was it going to specifically fund? Because I'm assuming there was a plan.
Yeah, positive momentum. So we're seeing the benefits of Portland coming out of COVID. I just got a report. Homicides are down 50% in the last 12 months. Unfortunately, that's not the case with those that are living on the street. There's still about 50% of our homicides. So unsheltered homelessness is still very important. But the public safety equation is that other very important part of it. Overtime is too high. I have workplace safety issues with the officers. I have some officers working over 70 hours a week on a regular basis. Now, we have to put officers on the street that are rested and ready when there's a life-saving decision to be made, not only to keep them safe and going home to their families every day, but to make sure that Portlanders aren't put in a position where their life and or their life safety. So we're making great strides with police. We must continue to fund them. And $2 million as far as plussing them up on their existing budget was to continue to fill the vacancies that they have right now, to stop relying on overtime and start getting the right number of officers so everybody can get rested and ready, go home safe at night, whether the officers or the public. And don't get me wrong, the public, we're seeing numbers falling, which is great. They're doing what they are in charge of doing.
Yeah. I'm curious about the staffing. So I heard that Portland Police already has like 95 open vacancies ready to be filled. And according to Chief Bob Day, I think in a meeting, he said there were hundreds of applicants. So are those 95 vacancies already fully funded, or is this part of the $2 million plan? Like, because I would assume those were already funded.
Yeah, a lot of those positions are already funded,
Gotcha.
but vacancies goes to overtime. And so this 2 million is really focused on recruiting, training and retention, because it takes about 18 to 24 months once you begin the process of hiring and bringing them in. And it's a very costly process and time consuming process.
Right.
We're committed to filling those vacancies, and we are. And so some of this $2 million goes to the missions that we're running to address some of the endemic things that we're seeing on our street, like human trafficking, drug dealing, retail theft groups that are out there. So it's really trying to stay on top of that while we're continuing the march to filling the vacancies.
Right, right. And again, I asked, is this 2 million, it was again taken away. Are new police salaries in question? Is that the reasoning? Are they not going to be fully hired because they're not fully trained?
No, I'm glad. So we've set a clear vision, community health and safety. We need to make sure every year gets better. And so our commitment with that funding is to continue to march to move and fill those vacancies. So we're going to bring on a recruiter. We're going to focus on training, retention. But the funding that is being compromised right now is for the missions that we're running to try and get a handle on some of those really troublesome issues in Portland right now.
So you're saying, and again, I am just trying to understand, because a lot of media outlets have been asking the same question. Like, they're not seeing exactly where the 2 million funds is coming. And you have been clear about the intent in spirit. Like, you've been like, hey, this is to make our city safer.
That's right.
But then we're like, well, what does safer mean in terms of the budget? Because that's how we're looking at it. Because we're just, we all care about parks and streets and the police, but we were just trying to figure out, where is that money specifically? How is it making a safer city? So I ask again, is that 2 million going specifically for overtime? Like, if you give that 2 million to the police, where are the budget holes that they're going to fill? And I mean, this is just because everyone's curious about it,
I appreciate that. And I can be specific with you. So the average trainees we have right now, trainees, are about 114. With this new budget, we're moving that average number of trainees up to 124. Those are trainees. Those are new officers. Now, we are going to have departures. Here's where that $2 million is going to affect us. It's going to reduce our ability for traffic priority projects, reduce our ability to run missions for human trafficking mission, street racing, gun violence reduction, stolen vehicle operations, retail theft. Those are material reductions we're going to have today. Our city will be less safe if we don't fund the police in this increase. And I'm glad you said this, because there was some misunderstanding over the weeks. We are not going to stop filling these vacancies. We cannot lower overtime. We cannot, over a long period of time, turn the tide on crime in the city without a properly funded or staffed police force.
Yeah. So are these numbers that the chief has given you and just said, hey, if we don't get this 2 million, we're not going to be able to expand these operations? But haven't they been already in the works now? And isn't that already fully funded?
Yeah. So those notes I just noted, now they'll be decreased. Some are going to be decreased only 5%. For instance, human trafficking is going to be decreased 50%. You see, these are trade-offs. It is a very difficult job that we're doing. And every time you have that trade-off, it's gut-wrenching. But that's what, unfortunately, not being fully funded requires.
Yeah. Well, have you had direct conversations with any of the council members who opposed your police spending proposal?
But yeah, I'm having conversations often. Last night, I was here late night working with counselors. We're really trying to explain to them the scaffolding that we built with this budget. And if you pull out a pillar in the scaffolding, then the plan falters or isn't able to be as successful as you had hoped. But no, they're very well. They're very supportive. They understand. But this is a very difficult budget cycle. So we're really trying to align priorities.
Yeah. On June 4th, you told the Portland Metro Chamber that an amendment is in the works to restore that 2 million police funding. Who's crafting that amendment and how would it work? This is so new. This is just like it feels like magic that you're like, I'm able to do this because it's a new charter move, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about it.
That's the beauty of coming from a CEO to operating the city now. So I'm the executive of the city. As the mayor, my job is to focus on high standards and executing sort of the spirit and the intent of all the bureaus together. So I've been working with our public safety department from day one. So they report to me every month their budget, their current status is, and what their expected budget. Well, it's June now, and they presented to me last week or 2 weeks ago what their current budget looks like, and they went from an overspend when I first started here in January through Chief Day's efforts, his team efforts. He's been able to really create more of an underspend opportunity. So we have about a $3.5 million underspend in our police right now. So I'm going to take 2 million of that. I've offered it to council and said, we can take 2 million of that. We only have a month left. We believe that that's going to be available. Let's turn that into an amendment and move that and or carry it over to the new fiscal year to backfill that 2 million. So it's the real beauty of this new government where I can see all parts and pieces of the city in a transparent fashion. And we have a counselor who now is bringing forward an amendment to carry over that 2 million to backfill.
So you're saying that 2 mil existed within the police bureau already because of Chief Day's new management. So essentially, they didn't need the 2 mil extra from wherever it was coming from because they already had it. They just you guys had to look for it, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Fiscal responsibility.
That's great. That's great that you guys were able to find it because now everybody is happy. Are there other places you think that we're under budget this year that we could apply to next year since we seem to need that money?
Yeah, we did that it's called a technical adjustment, and council voted on that. It was probably about a month ago, just as we were doing budget. So we take all the underspends and we then move them forward into available funding for this next budget. And then they're allocated to shortfalls. And unfortunately, we're in a shortfall situation. So there was a ready location for those funds. I'll just put it that way.
Right. Well, we're taping Friday morning, and by the time this airs, the council's tentative budget will likely be public. They're also holding a special hearing to take additional public testimony on Tuesday and voting Wednesday. What other changes are you hoping to see before that final vote?
You know, the PPP, that was really the big one, right? Let's keep the momentum going for our homeless programs. Let's keep the momentum going for public safety. As far as it goes, the budget is pretty much intact. I don't see any big changes that's going to affect our ability to operate the city well with the plan and the programs that I've put forward. So nothing groundbreaking.
Gotcha. So aside from the Portland Police Bureau 2 mil, which it seems like you already found within that bureau, you're set. Like you're just like, we're good with this.
I think we're good. You know, we're not seeing anything. The council and I have had some great conversations. They're in agreement with what we need to do this year. And so I think we're set. We should look good.
So it looks like Parks and Rec will be able to keep that 2 mil then.
Yes.
All right, well, let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, how everyone is getting along at City Hall and where we are with ending unsheltered homelessness.
You don't need to use an oversized AI model for everything, just like you don't need to use an axe to slice a cake. Find out how smaller models can deliver the right results and help cut AI costs up to 90% at IBM.com. The AI built for business. IBM. Great solos don't make a symphony. In music or AI, get AI that's in tune with your business at IBM.com. The AI built for business. IBM.
This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino. A meal isn't just about what's on your plate. It's about what you bring to the table. San Pellegrino believes the table is where the best of life happens. That's what makes gathering around it so rich and rewarding. And with their unique sparkling natural mineral water, San Pellegrino brings its best so you can bring yours.
Well, I think this budget process is also showing an issue with our new form of government that we anticipated might happen, which is under our new system here. you no longer have a vote on council. So there's still a lot more people involved. And you were just explaining this. This is like the learning curve here. And the newness of everyone's roles and how everyone interacts with the new branches of city government is causing some frustration, not just with you, but with all of city council. They're like, wait, how high can I take this to? And who do I speak to? Because everyone's so new. So, I mean, do you remember when I was trying to get a 503-day proclamation? I had to talk to 3 different people and they were all like, wait, is that me?
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, wait, no, I think that's me. I think it was like a bit of like, oh, wait, no one's asked yet. So we have to figure this out. So how are you feeling about the new charter as it's settling in? And how would you describe your working relationship with the council?
Yeah. The 2 branches of government are working very well. From an executive standpoint, we have our weekly meetings with our executive team. We have our missions, we have our visions, and we stay on target with those. The council has a very, unique job where they are a legislative branch and they're working with policies, and you see them every day in their council meetings and they're debating, they're discussing. It's certainly heart-wrenching in some regards, but I think you see a very efficient form of government taking form. I do want to certainly mention that budget meeting 2 weeks ago. That was 15 hours.
Yeah.
Holy cow. That was unbelievable. But I believe this next week's budget, you're going to see a lot more organization, professionalism, and experience taking hold. You're really seeing government form before your eyes, and it's working well.
Yeah, it was reported last week that the council is considering hiring a consultant to help fix their internal dynamics. Some of it that leaked in that 15-hour meeting, which, by the way, no matter how much you get along with someone after 15 hours,
Yeah.
it would be, I don't know how they did it, to be honest. So what would you want them to focus on if this consultant came through? Because they're calling it a reset of sorts, and which is, I think, super smart to do it right now. Like they're like, this isn't feeling so good. Let's reset how we are speaking with each other, how this works. And I'm curious, like, you've got this eagle eye view. Like, what would you want them to hone in on?
Yeah. Coming from a high performing organization where the culture was at a high level and the team was established and built, but I had 20 years to do it. We are in a matter of 6 months now. I think having somebody come in and kind of talk about how we communicate, how we build the relationships in a very high stress, anxious environment, I think that is very positive. I keep talking to my team about being positive and professional. And so you've seen my team from the city side really speak with one voice. The counselors are 12 individuals that need to speak with one voice. I think building that relationship and having open dialogue, it's foundationally very important. I see 12 really good people with clear agendas, but they do have to talk and work with one voice. And that's a challenge. That building relationships is hard. I think anytime you can do that, it's always going to benefit the city as a whole.
Right. Would it make sense for you to take part in that reset?
If they ask me, I'm absolutely happy to take part in that. How they make decisions together is very important. You haven't seen any detraction from me at all. You haven't seen any pointing fingers in the paper. We really don't have any time for that. The chief executive really needs to focus on dignity, decency, professionalism. And that's what Portland elected me to do. And I'm really trying to work hard at that every day. And council is a very difficult job. They're in that fishbowl. It's a different job than I have and I hold. But if they want me to be there, happy to be there.
Have you guys thought about maybe providing free snacks during the meetings? I heard that you guys don't even get free coffee.
Oh,
and
my
I understand why, the looks of it. You don't want to be like, we're just spending all your money here on granola.
No.
But if you guys had a GoFundMe, I'm pretty sure people would fund coffee and snacks, because I get pretty angry if I don't eat every 4 hours.
That is so last month. I'm telling you, at that 15-hour meeting, you couldn't find an office without a big old slice of pizza to grab. So it went from no snacks to, oh my gosh, I lost 3 years of my life with the amount of pizza I ate. So we're turning the weakness into strength. We're okay.
But see, that's Pavlovian, because they do that in newsrooms, and there's a bit of me that is like, ooh, it's election week.
Oh, is that right?
Pizza, donuts. Do you know what I mean? And it's brutal, just like it is for people campaigning. Like, we're there up all night. You do that enough times, when those big meetings come, everyone's going to be like, pizza, pizza.
Yes. And it's a letdown when you don't get it, right?
Yeah. So your signature issue, your entire platform has been to push and solve unsheltered homelessness in Portland. You already opened 200 new overnight shelter beds in North and Northwest, and another 180 beds are set to open soon. How close do you think you are to achieving your goal, especially since Multnomah County just put out data earlier this year showing that the number of people experiencing homelessness is still rising? Like, that goalpost just moved for you. So how close are we now? What's your plan? Are you bobbing and weaving? Where are we at?
Always doing that, Claudia. But there's not a meeting we walk into that we don't note the number of days before December 1st. We know winter,
Mhm.
and we have thousands of people suffering and dying on our streets. That's absolutely a given. And so, to your point, you're right. We're opening shelters rapidly to provide that care. So when somebody's ready to come in, we want to be ready for them as well. But we're changing things as well. So I have an incident command meeting on Mondays, and we bring in our Sheltering Iron Shelter team, and we are actively looking at different facilities, adding changes. We have a diversion program. It's called reunification. We're helping people get back home to their loved ones. The most recent win was just a couple of days ago. A 72-year-old woman living on our streets. We reconnected with her sister and her children in South Dakota. So we're working with all sorts of different parts and pieces. It's not just the shelter beds. It's making sure the system is being unlocked, right? It's making sure that the average length of stay at our shelters are really focused on 2017 when it was 23 days. Today it's 77 days. By just getting our system to work more efficiently, we can care for twice as many people with the number of beds that we currently have. So it's not just shelter, it's all of it. And then we are setting up an incident command meeting for rapidly bringing housing onto the market, because that's how you really address this. So it's not just one item or monolith. It's we need all the parts to work well. And I'm happy to say everybody's coming to the table, to the judges, the Metro Council, the county commissioners, the Portland City councilors, and frankly, the community writ large. They're adding shelters on their own just because it's the request of the community. We have Bethany's Room opening in a few months, and that's a 90-person women's shelter. That's a privately operated. I mean, we're seeing an awful lot of support coming from all over the city.
And you feel like you're going to be able to fulfill your plan of solving unsheltered homelessness by the end of the year? You think we're on track?
Yeah, Claudia, the promise to Portland is that anybody who needs a bed will be provided life-saving care when they are ready.
Mhm.
There are still some people that are going to be on the street. But right now, when they have that moment of clarity and there's a fentanyl addiction or behavioral health, when they have that moment of clarity, our community right now is turning to them and saying, we'll have a reservation available for you in 4 weeks or 6 weeks. We need to change that. When you're ready, on December 1st, we're going to be ready. And when you're ready for life-saving care or a bed, we're going to be ready for you as well.
How confident are you that your shelter funding is going to make it through City Council's final budget?
Very, very confident. You know, Oregon Metro Council provided $15 million to the mayor's plan. The governor has weighed in and provided $5 million through underspending this year. We have requests in the Oregon State Legislature, and they are all supported. County is supporting. This isn't just a Portland plan. This is a Oregon plan, because everybody knows if Portland's not healthy, Oregon's not healthy. And I'm happy to say that the outpouring of support and the hope has been far beyond what I had expected coming into the job.
That's so good to hear. You've been laser focused on shelters so far and also finding that $2 million for the Portland police. What's the next big issue you plan to tackle?
You know, I was very clear is that we have to address unsheltered homelessness. We cannot be a decent, dignified city with people suffering on the street as we drive by. We cannot normalize that. The next, you hit it on the head, is to reduce the burden on our public safety system. So when you call them, it doesn't take north of 20 minutes to show up. It takes south of 10 minutes, which is what we've always been. The third is revitalizing our economy. The governor and I got together over this last many months, and we convened the multifamily task force. And what came out of that was the 5,000 new homes challenge. We are reducing system development charges. Those are the charges we charge the developer when they build in Portland.
Right.
We zeroed that out, but we told our developers, You get 36 months to do that. And that allows us to add economic activity to Portland. So it's not just the new homes we get. That's like $2 billion of new economic activity that begins in a matter of months once the bill passes council. That's that third. It's revitalizing, getting people back to work, getting high wage jobs back into Portland. So the restaurants, the entertainment, the transit, all those things start unlocking and we get that vibrant community back that we also know and love and enjoy. So it's getting that blood going and coursing through our city, the economic vibrancy.
hmm I hope that it's places that people want to live in because I feel like we had a big boom of a lot of like smaller apartments that are still not filled and they're all downtown, fancy condos basically. And so I'm just hoping that it's housing that people can afford and that they want to live in.
Yeah. And that's all. So it's primarily going to focus on multifamily apartments,
hmm
middle market. And that's exactly right, Claudia. It's not just affordable. It's not just top floor condos. It's everything from the affordable or deeply affordable all the way up to the condos that you were talking about, the more higher cost. But because we need it all, not just one type of housing, we need all types of housing.
Right. Well, I also wanted to ask about a big development that came out on Thursday night. So city council voted unanimously, which was amazing to see, a unanimous vote, to settle a federal lawsuit filed in 2022 by 26 descendants of Black families who were pushed out of the Albina neighborhood because of the city's urban renewal policies. And they significantly raised the settlement from $2 million, I think one was coming from city, the other from Prosper, to $8.5 million. How do you feel about that decision? And the reason I ask, I know you guys have liability insurance or whatever, but you guys will still have to find that money. And we're talking about a budget here that we're still settling, so how are you feeling about that decision?
Yeah, that was a really important decision. First of all, let's talk about the decision. So that was the Emmanuel Displaced Persons Association. So these were individuals that had their houses taken in a primarily Black community. And that block on Russell has sat empty for like 50 years.
hmm
The Emmanuel expansion never took place. And those people were never made whole on those homes. So it was an important chapter and close. And it's never really closed. You can't replace that. Money's not going to replace that whole
Totally,
community.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But you're right. It went from 2 million to 8.5. It's not going to affect us in this budget cycle. You're right, because we're looking at cuts. The payout is going to be next year.
Mhm.
And we had a very robust discussion. We're going to be able to look at how we smooth that or feather that into the entire city. I'm happy to say, we have an $8.5 billion budget. And 8 million is a lot of money. But when we look, we'll find a way. Claudia, we talked about that. We will find a way because it was the right thing to do at that moment. So it's an exciting chapter. It was like third or fourth week on the job. The attorneys came to me who had been working on this litigation for years. And they said, Mr. Mayor, we're close. We can continue to stall this and work to better the deal with Portland. And I just said, no, we need to take care of this right now. It was something I was aware of for years upon years. Having been born at Emmanuel myself and having grown up in North Portland, I saw and experienced that displacement that went on. So it was a proud moment for me. It's a proud moment for council and the financial aspect. Yes, it's certainly going to be a higher cost, but we do have time to feather that into the organization.
Yeah. Are you at all worried about the financial precedents that it sets for the city? Because, there are a lot other people that were displaced in Portland. And I'm just curious, do you think we can afford this?
Yeah, and I brought that up, and I always will talk in terms of how do we effectively manage an emotional decision. And I always say you got to think slow
hmm
and then act fast. Council really wanted a quick resolution on this, and so that's the direction. We were asking for them to perhaps pause, but I think that the moment, the emotion, and the gravity of this really required them to act quickly, and I support their decision.
hmm
Are there downstream issues? You bet. But let's address that in a different conversation. This was the right thing to do at this particular moment, and I'll find the funds in the enterprise to make sure that we make those families whole. And yeah, we'll take care of future financial periods when those come up.
Well, Mayor Wilson, This is your last question. We always leave the most difficult ones for last, as you know. You've been on the show before.
This is the scary part of the interview.
What's your favorite pasta at the Olive Garden?
I don't go to the Olive Garden for pasta. I go for the free breadsticks. Are you kidding me?
I knew it.
It's
I knew it.
It's the best value in town. I'm running the city. We got a budget to make, right? If you turn your back, you might see those breadsticks end up in my pockets and carrying those away, right? No, I didn't carry them away. Oh.
Oh, man. Next headline, Mayor Wilson steals breadsticks.
The fun part of that question, Claudia, is you turned beet red on that one. I love it. I think you enjoy this more than anybody.
Oh, man. Well, I really appreciate your time. I know we've been wanting to get you back ever since we had you first on. You were our first mayoral interview, by the way.
Yeah, that was a great interview. Thank you.
I appreciate your patience then. I appreciate your patience now. And I just want you to know, as a constituent, I am personally a lot happier with how things are going.
Good. Thank you.
None of us can predict the future, but I'm saying this is going well. This is going well.
Well, thank you. I agree with you. And I can see that when I walk through the neighborhoods. I'm spending Sunday morning closing down the I-84 between I-5 and I-205. And I'm going to be out there with Oregon Department of Transportation, with the Portland Bureau of Transportation, and Union Pacific. We're cleaning up, we're addressing graffiti, we're fixing things. And so even when you drive on the roads, I want you to see it. I want you to visually see the changes in the city that you want to see. And then I'm asking community members to now do the same. Go outside your house, but don't just do your house as far as cleaning the curbside. Help your neighbor on the left and the right of you. And if we all come out and just do one extra thing every day, you will see a city that's really, truly the renaissance that we all want.
Well, thank you, Mayor Wilson.
Always good to see you, Claudia.
That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend, rate or leave us a review. It really does help us out. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.